All right. Yeah. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Tony.
Hey,
What? They can't see this. No, they can hear that.
yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, Tony.
How you doing, John?
I'm doing fantastic.
You still work in the desert area?
Oh yeah, big time now.
Oh, big time now. Excellent. How are prices and inventory out there?
Are you
Prices
doing
is-
that from Ensenada?
I'm doing it from any other country than this one right now.
Well, I'm just curious, where are you right now?
Actually, this week I'm back home because I've got a meetings with photographers and entertainment people and stuff like that.
Yeah, all right.
Nice. Well, just be thankful you're not in Canada. Lord knows they'd freeze your bank accounts and take your house from you.
That's coming here also, Tony.
No, don't say that. I hope not. I hope we're not gonna do that. Crazy. Crazy. How's everybody's year so far? Good? I know we're only 2
Yeah,
months into it.
it's tough if you don't have listings.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. They're out there though. I know it.
Oh my God. You're logging in through Zoom now. John, when is the listing of yours in Westminster close?
Monday.
Do you mind telling us what it listed at and what it's selling at or closing at? If
Sure,
not, I understand.
No, I'm fine with it. They removed all contingencies. What's that echoing?
We fixed it.
Okay, so we listed at 950 and we sold at $1,030,000.
Wow.
My goodness.
Wow.
And we didn't take the highest offer, which happened to be the one I represented too.
Do I have to ask why?
You know, actually, I did not think that my buyers would go to the end. I just had a feeling at the last minute that it wasn't going to be the right fit for my client. And I thought that was more important than the money in my pocket.
Now that is an ethical individual. Wow.
Of course, Jay is saying, we have a wedding to plan. Weren't you thinking that?
Well, John, my wife came across kind of the same thing where she was representing a buyer, which was, I think, 10,000 less than the highest offer. The big factor for the seller at that point was the rent back. Her clients were willing to give a 6-month rent back versus the higher offer of only a month and a half. So that was a factor for the seller. Are you guys hearing that some sellers want a rent back right now?
Oh yeah, because they can't find replacement. My client was moving to Northern Cal, so that was not an issue.
Cool.
Okay.
There you are.
You think it's where you're positioned?
I don't know. It's strange. I keep losing my connection here.
Gotta love Wi-Fi. Is it because of you're on the 5G network now?
I've heard that's been a problem, as a matter of fact. I don't think that I'm on a 5G network here. Okay.
6G
All right.
is coming.
Having a hard time here today. Well, good morning, everybody. How are you?
Great.
And Jeff Dreyer, did you buy a microphone? I found out why he hadn't responded to our smartass remarks, John, because he didn't have a microphone hooked up to his computer. So,
Yeah, he and I discussed that.
He did. I thought that was funny. So obviously he can't say anything, but he's going to be typing furiously in the chat box. You can count on that.
Well, let's keep them busy.
That's- Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. So we have a guest speaker today. We haven't seen him for a long time, since last year, and that's Anthony Bried. And Anthony is with Orange County Realtors, and today's discussion is on registering listings. So Tony, now is your opportunity, and I think I need to share my screen with you or make you a co-host.
Yes, sir.
See if I can find it. There he is.
Wow, I'm always used to like having everybody talk about their spiel first. So you're getting me over and done with.
All right, we can continue with other people before you begin. I can see that you weren't quite ready for that.
Oh yeah, no, but no, I'm ready to go whenever you guys need me to. So yeah, this will be hopefully fairly quick. And I'll just share my screen now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now I just got to get to my presentation. All right. So real quickly, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Richard, for having me here. Carlos, thank you as well. For those of you who don't know me, because it looks like based on the camera, there are some unfamiliar faces here, some new faces, which is awesome. My name's Anthony. I work at Orange County Realtors, been here now for almost 20 years. Started off in the MLS department, guaranteed. I'll speak to everybody regarding rules, regulations, violations, all that fun stuff. What I'm also involved with is our outreach program. So Mr. Moore and Carlos have me out here at least once a month giving training. Right now, webinar trainings, but hopefully eventually as the year progresses, maybe we'll get into hybrid. That way it accommodates both the office and the agents that may want to attend virtually. So John could be in Italy next week and still get all the nice fun training that is offered by Orange County. So we basically offer training on MLS, how to run searches, how to modify listings, all that fun stuff, zipFORMs training, and of course, technology. Now, what we're basically just going to go over here, and let me get my slideshow going. There we go. Is the registered status. Now, how to register a listing has changed since November of last year, but still to this day, people are confused whether or not they should be registering a listing, putting it as coming soon, or even just marking the property as active. So this is going to be a quick little overview of the entire situation to hopefully clarify and answer a lot of the questions that you guys may still be having. Number one, the mandatory delivery of a listing agreement, MLS Rule 7.8, basically just indicates that once you as an agent / brokerage get an executed contract whereby the agreement is active, you have 2 calendar days from the effective listing agreement date to input that listing into the MLS, okay? Or input that listing. Now, I gave this class last week and I asked agents, what is considered the effective list date? In a situation, I know, well, I know you know, Mr. Moore, but here's the situation. Say on March 1st, or listing agreement, you have effective listing agreement date as of March 1st of 2022. But the seller, the second seller, doesn't complete signing the contract until March 15th. So question is, when is the effective listing agreement date on that listing agreement? Can anyone outside of Mr. Moore answer that question?
March 15.
It's on the 15th. Exactly. I will tell you, we went around for 10 minutes because people didn't know what their effective listing agreement dates were. So yes, the answer is on the 15th. Why? Because a listing agreement is not effective until the last required signature has been placed on the contract. Okay. So even though your listing agreement, you're setting it up for March 1st, if that last required signature doesn't go on until March 15th, the effective listing agreement date then becomes March 15th. In which case, at this point, based on this MLS rule, you have 2 calendar days, no longer business days, to input that listing into the MLS under section 2A here as either a registered listing, a coming soon, or an active listing. Now, the only exception to this rule is in example 2B. If you begin to market the property, then you have 1 business day to input that listing as either a coming soon or an active style listing. So we get that listing agreement signed on March 15th. John immediately goes to his car. He whips out a sign that's for sale. He puts it on the property. He has now officially begun to market the property. Then he's got 1 business day for marketing to input that listing into the MLS. Now you'll notice here, there is no registered. There's only a choice of coming soon and active. Why? Because those are listings, or those listing statuses are marketable statuses. So if the property is never to be marketed, then the listing does not need to be placed into coming soon or active. This is where registered status comes in. Now, real quickly here, coming soon status that was developed in 2020 for clear cooperation allows you to do several things, as we've talked about in the past. It allows you to market the property for sale signs, social media posts, things like that. The listing is displayed in the MLS for MLS users to see. Buying agent commission is offered on the listing because the listing is in the MLS at that point. Now, the advantage here is that while you're marketing the property as coming soon, days on market are not considered or not counted. Now, that may change because the definition of days on market, meaning these are the days that you've been marketing the property, may change, but as it stands right now, as a benefit of pre-marketing, the days on market do not count. Now, listing distribution was changed as of November of 2021, where the public websites such as Zillow, Redfin, all the IDX Fed websites do not get the property. So even though in the MLS the listing is being marketed and technically you are allowed to market the property, on these public portals, the property is not displayed. Number one reason, per CRMLS, clients or potential buyers were seeing those properties on public websites like Zillow, reaching out to the listing agent to see the property. They wanted to see the property even though it was incoming soon.
Hey, Tony, before you continue.
Yes, sir.
Zillow has an IDX feed. How are we preventing them from distributing the information?
Because the listing is no longer going out on the IDX feed.
So no agents are getting the IDX feed, because I'm looking at some other things in CRMLS and it's contesting what you're saying. So
right.
there is no IDX feed now.
Correct.
Okay.
As of November, that was turned, or I should say officially as of January of 2022, it's officially not going out through the IDX feed. Now,
Okay,
if Zillow is, yes?
It is available to someone who has the capability of searching on the MLS, correct?
Correct.
And then does that mean a client who has access to the client gateway, could they search and find that property?
Yes, they could, because that's a direct link into the MLS by their agent. So they're already in an agency style relationship by getting properties directly from the MLS. So in that case, based on the search criteria from the MLS, they can receive a coming soon listing. But if they're going to say your website or Carlos's website, where you're getting an IDX feed where they can now register as a client to try to search for properties, there will not be a choice for a coming soon status.
Okay.
So in that way, the coming soon listings aren't appearing. Now, Zillow's workaround on this is that they own property. So if they're relisting a property that they own or that they actually obtain from a seller, then they can market the property as a coming soon. So in that case, if you upload a listing directly and indicate that it's a coming soon, then that's okay. it's because it's not being fed through the IDX. Does that make sense?
Yes, and then keep in mind, everyone, when marketing a property that's in coming soon status, the marketing must contain that language coming soon.
Yes.
So you had to identify it as a coming soon property when you're marketing it. You can market any way you want. So there's no limitations in that regard. I'm sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, no, I love it. Which, by the way, coming soon does not allow for any showings. So you're pre-marketing it. You and no other agent is allowed to show the property. So what I would definitely recommend is not putting a lockbox on the property until it's ready to be shown. Okay. So why is this available? Well, maybe they're doing remodeling or things like that for right now. So it's not ready to be shown. Put the property in as a coming soon. Now, by the way, coming soon has a maximum time frame of 21 days from the start marketing date. So when you started marketing the property, 21 days past that, you can market it as a coming soon. Now, a couple of things here. Coming soon is a one-time status. And while it's in coming soon, offers can still be submitted and accepted. So I list a property as a coming soon. Mr. Moore has a client who now all of a sudden wants to make an offer on the property because he's seen the photos, but he hasn't seen the listing itself. They submit an offer. My client can accept it, which now I take the property from coming soon and say, put it into pending, which now during the inspection period, Mr. Moore and his clients can now go and see the property with their inspection during that contingency period. But now this is what happens. Maybe they get there and they go, you know what, this is just not the home for us. We want to back out of the deal. We're finding some things on the inspection report that we just aren't copacetic with. So let's cancel the escrow. Now, me as a listing agent cannot take this listing that was in pending and put it back to coming soon. Because I only had one shot to do this, I can now only put it back to active. Does that make sense? Now, here's the major key part though. In order to put the listing as a coming soon, there is a form for this called the seller's instructions to input listing into coming soon status. This form can be found in zipFORMs, but it's not found under the CAR library. So if I may real quickly, hop over to zipFORMs and show you this form. So here, we're going to log into zipFORMs. So in order for you as an agent to market the property as a coming soon, you need to be instructed by the seller to do this. How you do this is that when you're in the listing transaction, and maybe they've told you, hey, we want to do some remodeling, we need to do some painting before it's allowed to be shown, then what you're going to need to do is be in your transaction. You're going to go to all forms. And from here, you need to switch your library. So even though everybody is defaulted into the California Association of Realtors library, this form is specifically from CRMLS itself. So what we need to do here is that we're going to click on the down arrow next to the California Association of Realtors library, and we're going to scroll down to the one that says California Regional Multiple Listing Service, or CRMLS. From here, we now have that form called the seller's instructions to place a listing into coming soon. Now, what this form does, if we look at it here, it basically the property address, and when it indicates here when the property is allowed to be shown, when showings are allowed to be started. Now, what this also explains is to the seller that no showings while it's in coming soon are allowed. There is limited advertising to the public websites up to 21 days. Advertising is done by the agent broker as a coming soon, viewable by other agents and brokerages in the MLS. And of course, you are open to offers. This form must be signed by the clients, the listing agent, and the listing broker. As long as you've got all the required signatures here, you can now input that listing as a coming soon status. Now, this form only has to be for your files. Now, it is important because CRMLS is actively going through the coming soon listings and auditing listing agents. The first thing out of their gate is, please provide us the coming soon form. If an agent cannot provide that or provide something in writing from their seller, this is an immediate fine of $1,500.
Woo!
And I got to see Ruth's reaction. So, Ruth, are you doing this form? No, hopefully after today, right? Nobody wants their pockets dinged any more than they already are. So make sure you do this form. Okay. Now, with that said, are there any questions about coming soon so far?
This applies to rentals as well, yeah?
It applies to any listing that's in coming soon. But yes, rentals, residential for sale. I would even say mobile home, commercial, just have it just in case.
Thank you.
Just never know.
Tony, I had a question about the registered status. Do you
We're
mind?
gonna go over that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so hold on to your question because I might be able to answer it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now, by the way, part of why you're registering the listing is about the no cooperation rule, MLS rule 7.9.1, whereby the listing agent and broker may withhold their listing only if the seller in writing refuses the property to be marketed or advertised per MLS rule 7.9.
Sorry, I'm good. I was at my workout and then I had to come home and get a shower real fast and then I had to.
What was that?
That was just an unscripted discussion, right? I muted that person.
Like, okay, you need to take
Oh,
a
I know
shower.
she's clean. Got a shower.
You know, now that I'm back in the office, I've had to re-shower regularly all over again, you know, whereas working from home, I can get away with it for a couple of months.
Oh, I'm sure your wife is happy about you taking a shower. Come on.
Oh, for sure. I started, did you ever see the movie Mr. Mom? That was back in the 80s.
Yes.
See, there we go. I had that going on. But anyway, I digress. So the seller's instructions can be in writing. Now, this is where the old form, the SELM, the seller's instructions to exclude listing from the multiple service can come in, okay? But also, as of 2020, the residential listing agreement, as an example, was also modified. Specifically under section 7, subparagraph D, or I should say, section 7, paragraph D, subsection either 1 or 2 of the RLA. These are specific instructions from the seller to either market the property on a date or start marketing it on a particular date, or do not do any marketing indefinitely during the listing period. Now, I am amazed how many agents have gotten their listing agreements, put the listing in registered, and then say, well, I didn't know that that paragraph existed in the listing agreement. Now, I know nobody here does that, right? Everybody knows everything about their contracts, right? Because I
That's
know
correct.
Mr. Ford has very detailed classes about all their contracts. But just in case, let's pull up a listing agreement. So here, back under all forms, we're going to switch it back to the California Association of Realtors. And the first form that we're going to look for here is the SELM. And specifically the RLA. But first, looking at the RLA here, and I'm just going to scroll down to that paragraph. Section 7, and if you guys can't see this here, we'll zoom in. Section 7 all deals with public marketing. Deals with our clear cooperation policy implemented by CRMLS, but specifically Section D, the seller's instructions to not market the property either until a particular date or indefinitely. This is subparagraph 1, subparagraph 2. So in our earlier example, Richard signs a listing agreement that's supposed to take effect as of December or March 1st. But this paragraph here, subsection 1 or 7D1 says, don't market the property until March 15th. Now, during that 15-day period, this listing needs to be inputted in as a registered status listing within 2 calendar days of the signed contract. Now, he could say during the entire listing period, there is no marketing, no public marketing at all to be done on this property. So as of December 6th, when the listing expires, during March 1st to December 6th, this property is not being marketed at all. Now, by the way, funny part enough, here the SELM pretty much says the same thing, except it's all found here in paragraph 4. So if you forget to mark 7D either 1 or 2, and you're doing the SELM, this is where the SELM not only doesn't allow for the MLS, but also no marketing, either for until a certain date or indefinitely during the listing agreement period. Now, according to CAR, either of these two sections or either of these two forms need to be done. Now, the only thing that supersedes that is your office. If Richard says, not only do you have to have the RLA 7D or the section 7D done, but you also need to do the SELM, you got to do both. So if that's the office policy, follow your office policy.
Yeah, we don't require the separate SELM. It's just more effort. And I want to clarify one aspect. If everybody noticed, there's one box that allows the seller to say, never market the property. However, that has to be qualified because we are subject to the clear cooperation policy. If you market the property, that means give information about the property to anyone outside of the brokerage with whom does not have an agency disclosure signed, then that is marketing. You have 1 day to actively or put that on an active status on the MLS. So don't give the seller the impression they never have to put it on the MLS if there's any public marketing of the property.
Which, funny enough, what is considered public marketing? Or by the way, registered, right? Here, no marketing is allowed to be done. The property is not in the MLS, so no one can find it. Because it's not in the MLS, buying agent commission isn't offered because no one knows about it. Now, on the listing agreement, it could be different, right? But I'm only going to know that if I ask the listing agent, right? Now, by the way, because you're not marketing the property, days on market do not count. There is no public knowledge about the property because there's nothing in the MLS to distribute. Now, here's the key thing that Mr. Moore just talked about. Showings are allowed, but they're only allowed to clients that have a direct agency relationship signed either with you, the listing agent, or with another agent that's associated with this brokerage, this office. So in a way, the registered listing is kind of a modified pocket listing to a degree. So John takes a listing, marked on there that it's not allowed to be marketed. What John can do is during an office meeting, pitch the property to the agents within the office. But those agents are not allowed to pitch it to anyone else outside the office. He's not even allowed to go to a marketing meeting to pitch his listing. Why? Because he's now marketing the property. Here within the office, everybody knows about it. But showings are only allowed if they have the signed AD form between them and the client. The agency discarding or the agency or the disclosure regarding agency relationship signed, the AD. If that's not signed, Richard, Christine, Ruth cannot show that property to any of their clients for John's listing. And John can't even show it to his own clients unless he's got that form signed. So, leads us into what is marketing? MLS Rule 7.9, marketing is not, or advertising includes but is not limited to any signs, any website posts, social media postings, brokerage or franchise operated websites, communication of any kind, written, but here's the important one, verbal. Any communication indicating that this property is up for sale, and not just by you and the other agents in the office, but by your clients. If your client pushes or tells someone, like a friend or a family, that their property is up for sale, and that person happened to have an agent, guess what? They can report you for advertising the property. This is a $2,500 fine. So be very, very careful of what is considered marketing, right? This is why we got to be really close-lipped about it. Now, in a way, this kind of helps you get the seller to advertise the property. Because if your fiduciary duty is to do the best marketing to get the highest top dollar, how can they expect to get that if they don't allow you to advertise the property? By just even keeping it out of the MLS, they have now limited your advertisement. So, are there any questions on this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so how do we register a listing? Well, prior to November, agents used to have to log into the MLS. And from here, agents were supposed to go into the MLS. They used to go under Add Edit. And from here, go under Add New. And in this list of select what type of listing, there used to be a choice here in big bold letters, register my listing. Now, for some strange reason, agents kept missing it. They kept saying, I don't see where I'm supposed to register a listing. I don't know where I need to go. Or even after they registered the listing, it would show up as an incomplete in their incomplete list, but then they would just go back in and just create a brand new listing. And now they were dinged for dual entry. So as of November, CRMLS has totally changed this process. No longer do you need to go and log into the MLS to register a listing, but you now need to go to your dashboard. So when you first go to log into the MLS, you'll probably notice that you are directed into the dashboard area. From here, our instinct is just to normally access the MLS. But now, say Richard takes my listing and I don't allow any marketing for the next 15 to 20 days because we're doing some heavy remodeling, heavy fixing up, right? So now instead, what he'll do is he'll go to log in, but now instead of choosing CRMLS Matrix to log in to try to register a listing, because there's no choice, instead what he'll need to do is scroll down to the section that says CRMLS Resources. Here, you're now going to need to choose this tool here called the Listing Toolbox. So CRMLS has developed a toolbox section or a utility place for you as an agent to go to register your listing. Simply click on where it says Listing Toolbox. From here, click on Sign In with Clarity, which will now automatically sign you in because you are already logged in. And from here to register a listing, we're going to come over here to the left-hand side and click on the choice Registered Listings. From here, this will now give me a list of all my listings that I have currently registered. To register a listing, simply come over to the New button at the top, near the top left, this green button that says New. And when I click on that, I'm now going to follow an easy 1, 2, 3, 4-step process to register the property. Step 1, we search for the property address. Now, what'll happen here is that the system will find the property on Google Maps. Once it finds the property and you select it, it automatically fills in all the required property data. Come down below to the bottom right corner and click on Next.
Did they know you're selling the office?
Yes, they do. And you're going to see how much I'm going to sell it for here in a second. But here, under the listing info, you're now going to put in the listing data, right? The property type, residential, land, income, lease. Right now, they don't have commercial information here because we're not a heavy commercial MLS system. We're more residential based. But know that you could input your leases in here, your income properties, so on and so forth. Select the appropriate property type based on your listing agreement. Here, put in your list price. So maybe the list price is $650,000 or $6 million. Here we have the listing contract date. Again, this has got to be within 2 days or 2 calendar days of taking the listing agreement, okay? Or the effective listing agreement date. And then of course, mandatory, when is your expiration date? Now, there is a third choice here, start marketing date. If you have section 7D, as an example, 1 marked, or in the SELM, paragraph 4, subsection 1 marked, when you're allowed to market the property, input that date. So no marketing from now to whatever this date is. If section 7D subparagraph 2 is marked, or the SELM paragraph 4 subsection B marked, then no marketing is allowed during the entire listing period. Then no start marketing date is required. Just mark that box, no start marketing date. But say as an example, the first example, Richard says, okay, I'm going to want my property marketed on the 15th of next month. That's when we're going to be done with all of our construction. Gosh darn it, come on. Oh, 03/15/2022. There we go. So this is when we're going to start marketing the property, either as coming soon or active. At this point, when I input this information in, I go next. Here I'm defaulted as the listing agent. Why? Because I'm logged in under my account. But say Carlos is my co-pilot. We're a team. I can actually give Carlos credit on this registered listing, which, by the way, this will show up in his registered listing area under his listing toolbox, so that either he or I can go in and make this property active or coming soon. Now, if I'm not working with an agent, then it's just me. Simply click next. Now we confirm the data. Once we confirm the data that we see here, we now just simply come down below to the bottom right, click the green button that says save, and we have now officially registered the property.
Hey, Tony.
This should take you no more than 5 minutes to do. Are there any questions on how to register our listing?
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
They still give the option to register under the old, the regular way of adding a listing.
No.
So if you go back to add a listing, add edit, and click on residential.
Yep. There is no
And
registered. There is
so
no
it's on
registered status.
Yeah, it's on the next screen. Oh, it used to have registered in there, just like even last week.
Nope. I've been
I'm
teaching it for
thinking that.
2 months. Swear to God, cross my heart, hope to die.
I was helping an agent, maybe it was like a few weeks ago, but I was helping an agent with that and it showed registered and then that's how we registered it.
Well, there shouldn't have. I've not seen it. Now, it may
Okay.
be under his listings. Under
No,
the
this is where we
old
saw it
method.
before, but it's no longer there.
Okay, so under the my listing section, under my matrix, there would be a list of registered listings here. But if you had registered a listing prior to November of last year, then it's still going to be here in this list. But if you notice that right now, I don't have that any of those properties that I've currently registered. So it's not going to be available here. Oh, by the way, Debbie, did you have another question about registered, or did I answer that earlier?
You answered that part of the question. Does the registered listing automatically change status on the end date, or do you have to go in and change it?
That's a great question. So the answer to the question is no, the registered listing does not automatically go over to coming soon or active. As a matter of fact, this is where you've got to make sure that you mark down in your calendars when you need to input that listing into the MLS. Because it's here in this listing toolbox, all your registered listings are not able to be seen or found at all in the MLS. So in that case, where we are now ready to market the property, whereby we need to now fully input the listing, we now need to take the listing out of the registered section and send it over to the MLS. How we do that is that we come back under the listing toolbox, go back under the registered listings, where we can look at our one-line reports here. And now we see the listing. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the far right to this green sheet of paper, or this paper airplane. What this green paper airplane says, when I click on it, we're going to now send this listing over to the MLS for you to input. So now when I say send to MLS, the listing now goes over to the MLS system. Now this takes about 15 to 20 minutes for it to do. Once it does that, now when we go back into the MLS system and go under add edit, and we'll just go under my account here, what should happen here now after 15 or 20 minutes, eventually, it will appear under my quick modify as an incomplete. Now I can go into my incomplete listing, go under the residential details, and fill out all the required fields. Once I fill out all this required information and now I hit submit, my listing now is officially either a coming soon or an active listing, depending on what our paperwork says. Does that help, Debbie?
Yes, thank you.
So you now have the added step of taking it from the registered section and sending it over to the MLS to input it. So that's what you have to remember to do.
Hey, Tony, is it okay to send it to the MLS and then start inputting the information prior to you activating it, just to get a head start on it?
Yep, and just keep hitting it, save as incomplete until you're ready. Sure. Just make sure
Okay.
you don't put in any of the dates.
Okay.
Okay, and then there is a question I think we can answer. I'm not sure I see the point in registering a listing. Is it to protect my listing? Why not just leave a needed signature until ready to make active? The whole point of the registered status, Ruth, is to prevent pocket listings and to control the listings themselves and to force compliance with the clear cooperation policy, because nobody wants a listing contract signed, at least CRMLS doesn't, and it not being placed on the MLS itself. So they're trying to force compliance in regards to registering each and every listing. And that's our obligation for residential properties, 1 to 4 units and vacant land. We must put it on the MLS if it's going to be marketed. So that's the whole purpose of it. I don't know if it's working or not. That's a good question. It's probably helping in some capacity. The fines are really substantial, though, for not complying. So, and a couple of those examples, for example, failure to input the listing in the MLS or register a property, it's a minimum of 500 to a max of 2,500, but that's actually, the fine is 1% of the selling price or the list price of the property. So in Orange County, virtually everything is going to have a $2,500 fine if the listing is not properly registered or submitted to the MLS, whether it's for current marketing, registering, or coming soon, as a matter of fact.
And we have to remember that these fines also stack. So if you don't input the property, right, in a timely manner, not only are you, and you're marketing the property, so now all of a sudden you got a double whammy. So that right there could be an easily $3,000 to $5,000 fine right out of the gate for doing just those two things. And heaven forbid you show the property, which is now another $2,400 fine on top of that. So now you're looking at close to $10,000 when you could have just taken 5 minutes out of your day just to follow the MLS rules and register it, you know, or get that signed AD form or the coming soon form. So, you know, and I get it, you know, you go, well, it's a $1.2 million listing. Is $10,000 really that big? I don't know. What does your bank account say? Right. And if you think you can afford it, then by all means, but I'm sure Mr. Moore and Carlos and everybody else on your risk management team doesn't want to see fines coming to their agents. So
yeah, and what I can tell you, I've been in a lot of hearings in which individuals contest fees or fines associated with violations. And it's rare that CRMLS doesn't show up, and they, in every single case, their position is no, don't allow that fine to be removed. They're there to fight it and make sure that you pay.
mm-hmm. And I hate fines, so
yeah, I don't want you to pay, right? They're going to contest anyone who attempts to have a violation erased or expunged.
Exactly. Well, are there any other questions? I know, you know, we went about 45 minutes, so, but are there any questions at all?
Anything in the chat box? I see nothing in the chat box. So a couple of things I would just like to review quickly. Before you put a listing into the MLS or register a listing, do you need a valid listing agreement? The answer is yes. Otherwise, that's a $1,500 fine. And that's a civil code violation, 1086 and 1088. So keep that in mind. We witnessed at least one occasion or two in which people have placed listings into the MLS, and we police it ourselves internally, and we haven't had a listing contract. So let's say I would never do that. We've witnessed it happen.
And valid listing contract should have beginning and ending date.
Yeah, and a valid listing contract should have the beginning and ending date. That's correct. Otherwise, it's probably not deemed to be valid. So keep that in mind, and then make sure that you have all the necessary signatures associated with the entity. If it is an entity, more than one individual has ownership over the property. And then remember, you need to enter the listing within 2 days of the effective date. And the effective date is, once again, the beginning date on line 3 of the listing contract, or the date of the last signature, the date of the last required signature. You as a listing agent, you're required to sign the listing contract. So it will not include the date that you sign it. I can assure you of that. It's going to be the date of the last principal who signs. So you can't necessarily say, oh, I'm not going to sign it yet. Keep that in mind. And then let's see, a couple of differences in regards to registered status and coming soon. Do you need an exclusion form for registered status? The answer is yes. Or you can use section 7D1 of the listing contract in lieu of the exclusion form. However, remember, any other listing contracts in the zipFORM library does not have that exclusion available. And if, for example, a lease listing, you would be required to obtain a form SELM. There's no exclusion form for coming soon, but there's a coming soon status form, which Tony talked about. And then in terms of publicly marketing property under registered, you cannot publicly market. You can market to somebody who has signed an agency disclosure form with our office during the last year.
So you can market or publicly market a coming soon property. And that includes putting up a for sale sign if it's coming soon. You cannot put up a for sale sign if it's registered. In regards to showing property, if it's in coming soon status, you cannot. So my only reason for ever allowing anybody in the property during coming soon would be someone who's staging the property or inspecting the property. That's always going to be your reason, right?
Mhm.
Hopefully you're catching on to that. Under registered, you can show the property to somebody who's signed an agency disclosure the same day or before you show the property. And a photograph is required for coming soon, not for registered. And then once again, registered is not distributed to anyone. Coming soon is distributed on the MLS, but not to any IDX site or public facing portal, as a matter of fact. So let's see. Offers can be accepted while in registered or coming soon status. Keep that in mind. And then price changes under coming soon, that will be tracked under the history. Price changes under registered will not be tracked. So just a couple of facts to go along with Tony's presentation.
Oh, and there was also one other thing. So I know if you register a property, a lot of people sell the property, right? So Mr. Moore has a listing that's registered. He sells it, he closes escrow, but now because, geez, there's such little inventory on the market, he wants to use this listing for comp purposes only. So how do we get a registered listing to be seen as a comp? Well, what you're going to do is that you're not going to go back under the listing toolbox and send it over to the MLS, because now all of a sudden you got to put in all that information about the property, and then your dates are going to be really off, and CRMLS is going to send you a fine. What you're now going to need to do, if you want that registered listing to be shown as a comp listing, you're going to need to email CRMLS the listing ID number for the comp. So in this case, for the registered listing, I'm going to email CRMLS at compliance@crmls.org. I'm going to give them the registered ID number of the listing. I'm going to send them the closing statement, as well as one photo of the exterior of the listing. And I'm going to give them the instructions, please report the listing for comp purposes only. What they will then do is take the listing out of registered and put it into the MLS as a closed sale with all the appropriate dates based on your closing agreement, or I should say your closing statement. So the other agent on the other side, the date that it went into pending, the date that it closed, and what it closed for. That's how you get the listing reported under registered for comp purposes. Other than that, you don't have to do anything to this listing.
Okay, that was good to know.
Definitely. Anything else?
Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, I guess I'll ask. Anthony, real quick, as a new agent, I have a question. I'm sure seasoned agents have a certain way, or they used to a certain way of entering new listings into MLS and into this new system. As a new agent who doesn't have a listing just yet, let's say it's end of the second day, I need to enter it into the system. I cannot reach Richard or Carlos to get assistance on how to do it. Is there a certain step-by-step or a direction on a website that I can use to follow this new system or this new procedure?
Yes, sir. Well, there's two things. One, I have a training video on how to register a listing. I do believe today the meeting is being recorded by your office, so they will send you a copy of today's recording going over how to register a listing. But also CRMLS themselves have a YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com, and at the very top here, we're going to search for CRMLS TV. And from here, we can go to their channel. And when we go to their channel, we can look at all of their pre-recorded videos. Oops. And one of these videos will go over how to input a listing as coming soon or active, how to also register a listing, plus also any other tool that CRMLS wants to give you training on.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Tony, besides the videos or anything that just is in written form?
I do believe under the CRMLS rules and regulations under the help section. So to get the help, just be logged into the MLS, move your mouse over towards the right-hand side where you see your name, click on your name and choose help. From here, you can look at their training manuals, training videos, or sign up for a class. But here under their training guides, they should have quick reference PDF documents on how to do exactly what we're doing. So
Okay,
these
great.
should be up to date. Or
you.
give me a call or shoot me an email.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay. Any other questions? No?
No? Well, I want to thank everybody today. If you guys do have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to either call me or email me. My email is tony@ocrealtors.org. That's TONY@ocrealtors.org. Or feel free to give me a call at 949-586-6800 extension 104.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. It's always a pleasure
Thank
seeing you. Thanks, everybody, for attending.
Hey, Rich,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a listing. Can I
Ah,
pitch?
another one.
So this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Palmilla, which is a 55 and over community in Mission Viejo. It should be coming on the market about the first of the month. We're painting it. We haven't signed a listing contract yet, so I'm not registering it or coming soon. I'm just letting the office know. We'll be on the market at like right around 700,000 for this property.
You want to share the name and address of the sellers? It's a joke, John. Come on.
And what they'll take. Enough to be said that there is nothing else available in that tract. I think maybe 1 or 2 properties, but this will probably be on the lower end of what's available. And it's a really nice property. We're having it painted this week, so it'll be ready to go.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share or ask for?
Yeah, Rich, I have a new listing. It's going into the MLS tomorrow. It is in Woodbridge, where there is absolutely nothing for sale. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom condo in amazing condition, in a great location. And I know that it's going to sell really quickly. I'm doing an open house on Sunday, but if anybody wants to show it, I can show it for a couple of hours on Friday morning. So let me know. The other thing is that these same clients are looking for a property up to $1,250,000, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms at least, preferably in Woodbridge, but somewhere in a good school area in Irvine. So if you know of anything coming on, please let me know.
Debbie, what's the asking price going to be?
$895.
Okay. Okay.
It's a little higher than, it's substantially higher than the last listing, but the last listing was in June of last year, so the market's changed.
That's a long time. Yes.
Yeah, it's changed dramatically, and I know that they're going to get way over 900 for it.
What track, Debbie?
It's in Parkview,
Oh,
across from Echo Run Park.
mhm.
Just, it's a great location, and it's really nicely remodeled.
What do you think the rents would be for that, Debbie?
I'm thinking probably around 3,500 maybe. They really want to rent back, as Tony was saying earlier, and everybody else was saying, because they just haven't found anything and there's nothing to buy.
Well, there's the key when submitting an offer to Debbie. Offer a rent back.
That's true. They'll definitely consider it.
I have a question, Ruth. Is that gun loaded behind your head?
She's
I
muted.
think the answer is yes, John. There she is. So Ruth, is it loaded?
It hasn't been loaded like for maybe 70 years.
Where's it from?
Civil War.
Wow,
Yes.
pretty cool.
I used the bayonet.
That's not personal at all, right?
You know.
All right, any comments or questions? No? Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's good seeing you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.